Okay, so picture this. You're a career bureaucrat in D.C.
Hmm.
You've done, I don't know, 30 years climbing the ladder. You have the nice office. You know all the regulations. You know every single lobbyist. You are, part of the
It's part
established,
of the machine, the system.
the system, exactly. And then one morning, the door to your office just flies open. And it's not some rival. It's not the FBI. It's a kid. A kid who looks like he should be, like, begging for an extension on his college paper.
And that kid is holding a pink slip
Yeah.
with your name on it.
We are diving into a stack of articles today that are just absolutely fascinating. They start with this huge shakeup happening right now in the U.S. government, this new Department of Government Efficiency.
Right, the one Elon Musk is involved with.
And it uses that event to pivot into some really, really big questions. We're talking about a series of texts by an author named Xu Feng, written between February and July of 2025.
And this isn't just about politics. I mean, it starts there, sure. It starts with this team dismantling agencies, but it spirals out into this whole philosophical deep dive on rules, innovation, and even a completely different way to approach getting old.
It's a journey. We're going from the halls of Congress to the biology of a single ant, and we're going to end up in what sounds like a utopian community for the elderly. So let's start with that hook. The source material zooms right in on this Department of Government Efficiency.
And the numbers are, well, they're startling.
I honestly laughed when I read them. The text points out that the core team, the ones causing this earth-shaking event, it's just 6 people, 6 young men.
And when you say young, you mean young.
The youngest is 19.
19. And the oldest is only 25.
Which gives them an average age of exactly 22.3 years old. I mean, just think back to what you were doing when you were 22.
I think I was trying to figure out to make ramen in a coffee pot.
Right. I was trying not to shrink my clothes in the laundry. These guys are taking apart the federal government. And the source describes the reaction from the old guard as just, well, pure panic.
The phrase used is gnashing of teeth. You have these powerful figures, financial magnates, people with what the author calls stains on their records, and they are terrified.
They're launching what the article calls a crazy counterattack.
But here's the thing, it isn't working.
And this is where it gets so interesting. The author, Yu Feng, has this theory as to why. And it's not because these kids are, secret geniuses or anything.
No, not at all. It's what you could call the paradox of expertise.
Right.
The author says they're winning because they don't know the roles.
That's the core of the first article, rules and innovation. It just flips everything we're taught on its head. Knowledge is power, right?
Apparently not. In this context, Yu Feng says knowledge is actually paralysis.
I mean, think about it. If you're a legal expert, you know all the consequences. You know that if you touch this budget, you're going to anger that senator.
You know that repealing some regulation will lead to a dozen lawsuits. You are, as the text says, bound by rules. You see all the invisible tripwires.
So you just freeze up, or you move so slowly that nothing ever really changes.
Exactly. But a 19-year-old,
Yeah.
he doesn't see the tripwires.
Right.
He doesn't know the 50-year history of that regulation. He just sees a stupid rule and kicks the door down.
So his ignorance is actually his superpower.
It gives him the courage to act.
Yeah.
And the author goes even further. He gives this list of people you should absolutely not listen to if you want to innovate.
I love this list. It's basically everyone you'd normally ask for advice.
Pretty much. First up, old people.
Because they're too set in their ways. They know the old rules too well.
Then you have leaders and lawyers.
The guardians of the status quo. I mean, a lawyer's whole job is to tell you why you can't do something.
Right. And then, this one's interesting, historians.
This one got me. The argument is that historians are experts in the past, and very often they're experts in past failures.
So they'll always say, oh, they tried that back in the 70s and it was a disaster. Or, that's what the Romans did and look at them now.
That knowledge just creates fear. It stops you from trying something that might actually work now.
He even says, don't listen to your own family, your secular relatives.
Because they love you, and they want you to be safe.
And safety is the enemy of innovation.
And then there's the most brutal one on the list. He says, don't listen to patience and failures.
Because failure is the mother of failure.
Wait, I thought it was failure is the mother of success.
Not according to this source. Xu Feng is very, very specific here. He says, a duck cannot give birth to a phoenix.
Wow. That's a vivid image.
But it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
If you only listen to people who failed, you're learning their exact path into the ditch. You're not learning how to fly.
So the big takeaway from all this political stuff isn't really about politics. It's that you need a little bit of chaos done to create something new. If you just stick to the old rules, you get the same old world.
Exactly. But, and this is a huge pivot in the source material, Sui Feng then draws a very hard line. He says, okay, humans can break political rules, we can smash bureaucracies, but there are limits.
Hard limits, cosmic limits. This brings us to the second article, Who Can Solve Two Major World Problems? And the tone, it just completely shifts. It goes from go break the rules to sit down and be humble.
It really does. He lays out two problems that he claims are completely unsolvable by humans. Doesn't matter how smart we are, how much money we throw at it.
Problem number one, creating carbon-based life.
Now, he makes a very clear distinction here. He's not talking about AI or robots. He says humans are great at creating silicon-based life.
All right, we're wizards with that stuff.
And we can manipulate life that already exists. We can clone a sheep, we can edit genes. But the real challenge is this. Can a human create a single ant from scratch?
Like from just a pile of chemicals in a lab.
Yeah. Can you make a blade of grass without using a seed? The answer is no. He argues we lack something called the Ling Yuan, the spiritual source. We can build the body, but we can't flip the switch to turn it on.
We can't provide the spark of life itself.
Exactly. So his conclusion is that creating carbon-themed life is the exclusive domain of God, or the Creator. It's a line we can't cross.
Okay, so we can't play God with biology. What's the second unsolvable problem? This one feels like it should be easier.
Perfect social harmony.
You'd think we could crack that one. We've got psychologists and diplomats and HR departments.
And yet here we are. The specific challenge in the text is a thought experiment. Take 80 people. Just 80. All with completely different backgrounds.
Different races, religions, cultures, ages.
Everything. Put them under one roof, make them eat from the same pot, and see if they could live happily together.
I'm just having flashbacks to my first college dorm, which was, a total disaster.
Exactly. The source points out that in 5,000 years of history, no emperor or philosopher has ever made that work long-term. It always breaks down.
He brings up a great historical example, Robert Owen's New Harmony.
Yes. The utopian community in Indiana back in the 1800s. Owen was a brilliant guy, a wealthy industrialist. He bought a whole town and invited the best and brightest to come live in this perfect cooperative society.
And how'd that go?
It collapsed in less than 4 years.
Wow, that's shorter than one presidential term.
And it collapsed for all the reasons you'd expect. Jealousy, ego, laziness, friction. The author's point is that human theories for society always have holes. Because we, the humans, are the holes. We're flawed.
So the conclusion is that only God's messenger can solve this one.
It's grounding, isn't it? It says, yeah, go disrupt the government, but recognize you can't just engineer your way out of the fundamental human condition.
Well, speaking of the human condition, there's one part of it we all have to face, and that's getting older.
And this brings us to the third source. What do you think of this way of aging? And I have to say, this was a heavy read.
It was visceral. The author does not pull any punches. He paints a really grim picture of what modern aging looks like for most people.
He talks about the obvious things, your body slowing down. But the real gut punch is the focus on loneliness. And he just dismantles this cultural myth that your children will take care of you.
Which is a huge expectation everywhere, right?
Let's go.
I raised you, now it's your turn.
And Sui Feng says, just let that go. It's not going to happen. And he's clear, it's not because your kids are bad people.
No, it's because they can't. They're struggling to survive themselves.
Right. They're working crazy hours. They live hundreds of miles away. They have their own kids. The text says they have bitter suffering they cannot speak of. They're just exhausted.
So if your kids aren't an option, what's left? The nursing home.
Which the source describes in, frankly, terrifying terms. Waiting for death. Just being warehoused. No dignity, no joy.
He has that one image in there that's just the horror scenario of dying alone in your apartment.
Yeah, and no one finds you until your body has started to.
Well,
you
it's a genuine fear for millions of people. He's saying our current system, the rules of our society, this is the default ending.
But then, right when it's at its most depressing, he pivots. He proposes a solution, a really detailed model for a new way to live.
And it ties back to that unsolvable problem of social harmony. He's basically saying, hey, here's a place where it's been solved.
So what does it look like? First, it's not an old folks' home. It's intergenerational. That seems to be key. You're living with middle-aged people, with young people, with children.
And you're still in the stream of life. You're not just parked on the riverbank watching it go by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all the practical burdens are gone. No cooking, no laundry, no cleaning. Full care is provided if you need it. And it specifically notes the caregivers offer no complaints.
That's huge. No feeling like you're a burden.
Right. And daily life is full of games, parties, performances. It sounds like a permanent community festival.
But the most radical part, for me, was the view on death.
It totally reframes it. In this model, death isn't a failure, it's a promotion, a graduation to heaven.
And when someone is passing, the whole community gathers around them. They chant, they support them. It's a collective spiritual transition, not a lonely medical event.
It sounds incredible. But, I mean, you have to be the skeptic here, right? Is this just a nice story? Is this just a dream he's writing about?
I thought the same thing, but the text says, and I'm quoting here, "Tell you a fact, such a life has already existed on Earth for over 10 years.
So it's real. It exists somewhere.
Apparently, the text implies it's a community the author is part of, but, and this is the catch, it's a big one, you can't just buy your way in.
I knew there'd be a catch.
The requirement isn't money, though, it's mindset. The source says this lifestyle is only for those with purified souls or purified minds.
Purified souls. Okay, that's a high bar.
It brings it all full circle. Remember why New Harmony failed? Human defects, ego, jealousy. This model only works because the people in it have, changed their internal operating system.
They've aligned themselves with a set of values that makes this kind of community living possible.
So it's a system that works, but only if you fit the system.
Just like the 19-year-olds in government only succeed because they have that mindset of, fearlessness.
Yeah.
It all comes down to the software running in your head.
Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. The author ties all of this, government, biology, aging all together with math.
Yeah, chaos theory. Undone.
I love this part. Break down the numbers for me because he throws out a figure that's it's mind-boggling.
So he starts simple. He says there are 64 basic ways of living. Think of them as primary colors of existence.
Okay, 64 ways. I can get my head around that.
But those ways interact. They cross and multiply. And the author calculates that the total number of possible ways to live a human life isn't just a few hundred or 1,000.
It's not even 1,000,000.
No. It's 840 million to the nth power.
To the nth power. I mean, that's basically infinity.
It is effectively a universe of possibilities so vast we can't even comprehend it.
And yet here we are. Look at how most of us live.
Right. And the author has this fantastic metaphor. He says, our current way of life, the whole go to school, get a job, retire, die script, is just one hair on 9 oxen.
One hair on 9 oxen.
Mm-hmm.
So we're living in this tiny microscopic sliver of what's possible, and we think it's the entire universe.
We think the rules we follow are the rules, like they're laws of physics. But they're not. They're just the rules for this one tiny little path. And the chaos principle says rules are only valid for their time and place. If you step off the path, the rules can change.
Like those kids in D.C. finding out the rules of bureaucracy don't apply if you just ignore them.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the author is asking, if there are 840 million to the nth power ways to live, why are we all crammed onto this one path that makes so many of us miserable? Why do we accept the rotting alone ending?
This leads right into the final piece of advice in the text. And I like it because it's so direct.
It's the big so what of this whole deep dive. Shuafeng just says, look at your life. Are you happy? Are you joyful? Are you free?
And if the answer is yes,
Then great. Stay put. Cherish it. Your rules are working for you. But if you're in pain, if you're worried, if you're suffering,
right.
The text uses this great little exclamation here. It just says, grandmas.
Which is like a polite way of just yelling in frustration.
Exactly. Grandmas, change your way of living and try.
Change your way of living. It sounds so simple, but we fight it so hard.
We do. We're terrified of the unknown. We'd rather be miserable in a familiar box than risk being happy somewhere new. We're like those experts in D.C., just clutching our rule books while the world changes around us.
We need to channel some of that 19-year-old energy.
Or that purified soul energy. We need to realize the walls aren't as solid as we think.
What a ride today. We went from Elon Musk's new department to the limits of creating life to a deathbed party and ended up with infinite math.
It really shows what these deep dives are all about. You take these sources that seem disconnected and you realize they're all telling one big story.
And that story is that the limitations we feel are so often self-imposed.
There's one last image from the text I think we should leave everyone with. It's a really simple line. Open the window to let the sun and moon in.
Stop staring at the wall. Look outside. And here's a thought for you to chew on today. If the math is right, if there really are 840 million to the nth power ways to live a human life, why are we all trying so damn hard to live the exact same one?
That is the question.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.